Hi, everybody. This is Loren Baker, founder of Search Engine Journal, and thank you for joining us on today's SEJ show. With me, I have a special guest, Mr. Syed Balkhi of Awesome Motive. Hey, Syed, how's it going?
Good. Hey, Lauren. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. When I reached out to you about guesting on the SEJ show, it occurred to me that I had first met you maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that. I believe you were a student at the time, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was. I think I was like either 16. I was right. I just turned 17. I think.
Oh, wow.
I remember that was quite interesting because it was IZEA Fest, right?
Yes, in
Uh,
Orlando. Yeah.
and in Orlando, I had to have my college roommate drive with me so he can help me check into the hotel because they won't let minors check in, right?
Oh, wow.
That was a fun thing.
That's cool. Yeah, that was fun. I think you were there with John Chow and a couple other people. That was
Yeah.
pretty early on in the whole affiliate and WordPress space. So it was cool. And then you've been doing a lot since then. So would you take a moment to kind of introduce yourself, tell the audience about who you are, what Awesome Motive is? And I don't even know if there's time to go over all of the brands that are part of Awesome Motive, but if you could highlight a couple, that'd be amazing.
Sure. I like to say I'm a blogger first, an entrepreneur second. I created this blog called WP Beginner, which helps you learn how to do anything and everything in WordPress. It's essentially helping small business owners grow and compete with the big guys. And that sort of has been the Awesome Motive mission statement, is to help small business grow and compete with the big guys. And what we do is, outside of our educational tutorials, build software like Opt-in Monster, WP Forms, which helps you build contact forms on your website, Opt-in Monster, which helps you collect email subscribers. We have a suite of software in our portfolio. All In One SEO is one of the recent additions that we acquired in beginning of 2020. But collectively, it's a suite of WordPress plugins and SaaS software that are powering, I would say, now pretty close to 20 million, if not over 20 million websites.
Wow, that's really impressive. That's really impressive. So in addition to, what are some of the lesser known brands that are part of Awesome Motive?
Well, lesser known brands, let's think about it. We just acquired Search WP, which a lot of people may
Okay.
not know about, but it is a premier WordPress on-site search plugin. So think Algolia and others, except for WordPress, that is affordable and it works. Search is one of those things that's really expensive if you want to do it right. We make it affordable.
Nice.
I would say that's probably one of the lesser known brands. If you're outside of the space, we actually just acquired Affiliate WP and Easy Digital Downloads and WP Simple Pay. So those brands are well known outside of Awesome Motive, but they're a new addition to Awesome Motive. We acquired them just last month, a little over a month ago. We acquired a portfolio of those plugins. Push Engage might be another one that not everybody may know, but most of our solutions are really popular, like MonsterInsights, the largest Google Analytics integration in the world, WP Mail SMTP running on over 2 million sites, helping you fix your website's email deliverability issues. So a lot of our solutions are very, very well known, but Search WP, I'd say, probably is the least known.
Nice. So, I'm going to get off tangent a little bit here, but in terms of on-site search, it is such, for any of you marketers, SEOs, and not even SEOs, but just like from a conversion and sales perspective, on-site search is so important because on the SEO side, you see like what people are actually looking for, right? Like looking at the on-site search like numbers and data can help you craft your navigation menu right at the top of your site because you know what people are looking for, and if they're not finding it, they're going to the search box. You can identify like what to feature on your homepage or internal pages. From a sales perspective, there's so many Shopify powered sites that I've worked with where they're just utilizing their default site search and it's not bringing the correct products in, or it's not showcasing the products that will sell, and just making those small changes can help to increase conversions and sales overnight. And at the same time, just give you like really valuable data, like what your audience is looking for to help them find that, right? Because we can't leave it up to Google to help people find everything.
Yeah.
Once they're on the site, we don't want them to leave and go try to search to find something else, right?
Yeah, you'll be surprised, how little people pay attention to this really valuable area of the website. Now, by default, most platforms don't tackle search because search is a hard problem. And one of the things that I really liked about Search WP, so I'm a blogger first, right? I told you. So I wrote
Mhm.
about Search WP when the original creator, the developer, created this plugin maybe like 7-8 years ago. And I love that plugin, have always been recommending it. And then, earlier this year, got the opportunity to acquire the whole thing. And what I really liked about it is it give the website owners full control over how you rank anything in your search. You can make your own custom algorithms. And then the metrics extension, right, which shows you all the search insights, shows you, okay, what people search. And maybe they were not clicking on the first result on that they saw. Maybe they clicked on the second or the third result that they saw on your shop or on your blog. So what it can do is it can automatically move that listing up to the top. You can do promoted results. Really, really powerful
Right.
stuff if you're running an e-commerce platform, and of course for content ideas too.
Yeah, really underestimated at the end of the day, and overlooked. Another thing as well is one of my clients just switched platforms, and they switched over. They didn't have like a search call to action in the navigation previously. Now they do. So we noticed that there's a lot of like customer service oriented questions that people are asking through the search bar, which was not expected at all, right? So
Right.
that's another thing too, as well, is like search bar is a great way, or on-site search. Search WP is a great way to identify what people are looking for when they find your site. But also, like, if you can tap into all those customer service questions that come in through your help desk technology or through
Oh
calls
yeah.
or whatever, you know what people aren't finding, right? So what's
Mm-hmm.
even that chat buttons are great, don't get me wrong. But if you can give people what they're looking for on the site so they don't have to hit that chat button and go outside of that purchase journey, even the better. So definitely go through that from a SEO perspective, conversion perspective, keep people on your site perspective at the end of the day, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Yeah. Very
Any
powerful.
cool. So all-in-one SEO, right? It's been around for years. A lot of people have heard of it, and a lot of people use it already.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a pretty big acquisition, right? Because first of all, you gave it a website. I don't think it had a website previously, right? So now it's
Yeah.
I don't know if the previous owners were depending upon like their company for that, or like just the WordPress marketplace, but now it's aioseo.com, correct?
Yep. Yep.
And tell us a little bit about all-in-one SEO. Anything that's unique about the offering that differentiates it from others in the marketplace, and really how it fits into the overall awesome motive ecosystem at the end of the day.
Yeah, this is one of the plugins that's near and dear to my heart. I started using WordPress in 2006. I think I discovered All-in-One SEO not too long after that. I think maybe late 2007, early 2008 is when I started using All-in-One SEO. That was the only solution for SEO at that time that was halfway decent, and I've been in love with it. Over time, it kind of started falling behind. And we always saw a need for a good SEO solution in the market. Innovation sort of had stopped in the SEO world for WordPress. I would say maybe 5 years ago or so. there has been very little innovation in the WordPress SEO market. So we acquired the business. Now, hats off to Michael Torbert, who's the original founder. Have a lot of respect for him. He kind of showed me the ropes in the early days of WordPress. Really love the guy to death. So he chose us. It was being sold on his agency website. So Michael had an agency. So he was selling it on an agency website called semperplugins.com. I always felt, like it's all in SEO. That's the flagship. It should have its own website. So once we acquired it, the plugin needed a lot of work. It was kind of, stuck like maybe
Right.
6, 7 years old technology. So we acquired it. Our plan was, okay, we're going to rebrand it to AIO SEO. And we're going to rewrite the whole architecture of the plugin so that way it's fast.
Wow.
It's extensible, because speed is important. Okay, speed is important for Google rankings. Everybody knows this. Make sure that it's extensible, and it is truly an all-in-one SEO tool, right? So we spent a good 10, 11 months rewriting the whole software, and essentially now it has all aspects of SEO, and it's only getting better. Some differentiators, breadcrumbs, right? Super important for SEO and schema markup. Most SEO plugins just barely scratch it on the surface of breadcrumbs, right? So if you're a pro SEO, you're likely going to use a third-party breadcrumb software, not with All In One SEO, right? Really, really robust breadcrumb templates, change the schema how you want it. You want to be on the latest and greatest edge, like you can do all of that. But even beyond some of the power tips, we had an RSS sitemap, bunch of other sitemaps, advanced sitemaps, video sitemaps, local sitemaps, etc. There are more than anybody else offering. So depending on the type of site you have, if you have a new site, you get a new sitemap so you can get into Google News, and so on. But for the real beginner, right? You can't just give a red light, green light. Okay, people get confused. They're like, why do I have a red light? That's just false, and it scares the beginner user. They don't know what they're doing. So instead, what we took a score approach. We call it True SEO. The True SEO score gives you a range from 0 to 100. We encourage the user, okay, if you can get 50, 60, 70, that's a pretty good score. Don't try to keyword stuff just to get 100. Like, we know that the headlines are really important for click-through rate, right? And Google, if you have a good headline, it will help you get better CTR. So we put a headline analyzer right inside the WordPress editor, right? So you can test your headline with emotional words, with power words, and it will give you a score. So not only is it helping you optimize your content, but it's also helping you optimize your headline. Aside from that, it really goes into the schema markups, the block structure. Your WooCommerce site have WooCommerce SEO support, local SEO support. Really gives you all the best practices right out the box, and the user interface doesn't feel like you're stuck in 10 years ago. It looks and feels like a very modern SaaS software that's fast. And there's a lot of good stuff coming. Another example, redirections are very important, right? Setting up the right redirect. If you delete a post, 301 redirect it, right? Most plugins are just scratching the surface. Like, I'm a practitioner, right? I'm not like, yes, I sell software, but we get over 100 million page views a year across our websites, okay? Or organic traffic. Okay, so I'm a practitioner. I need to know that redirects are being set up right. We migrate sites, we buy stuff, we sell businesses. I'm in the affiliate space.
You've been through it all. You're learning from really doing it all.
Right. Yeah. So, tested improvement. So outside of just setting up the 301 redirects, what if you want to relocate a domain, right? What if you want to relocate a domain? You install All In One SEO redirects, you set the domain and say, this is where I'm going, and that's it. It sets up all the htaccess redirects for you with one click, instead of you trying to manually map up htaccess rules and getting it wrong. Or if you're setting up 301 redirects using WordPress, well, on some hosts that's going to be slow, right? PHP redirects are slow. So we have an option. You just select the htaccess button, and it automatically maps all the configuration into your server level file. So your redirects are really, really fast, right? It's less than like 200 milliseconds. Okay, the redirect just happens. So it's really, really fast when you think about that. So not just the beginner tools, we made it beginner friendly. That was our first goal. But we also have the power tools, because it's really built for us. The migrating sites and the redirects. Let's say you have a WordPress site for your marketing site, but you're using Shopify for your e-commerce store, right? Guess what happens? You have a sitemap on your main site, right? Because your marketing site, it does not even include your shop pages. So what happens to your Shopify SEO? Boop. Like, it's not going to perform. So our sitemap feature will let you add custom pages to your sitemap. So you can add your Shopify stores to your main website sitemap.
Oh.
So, it really, really goes above and beyond. Now, it's still strictly for WordPress. We have not built a Shopify version of All In One SEO, but a lot of users we know have a WordPress marketing website, and then they have a Shopify store. And they can bring their Shopify store link to /shop into the sitemap, control the priority score as you see fit. Some of the other plugins are like, we're not going to give you granular control over your sitemap priority. Well, why not, right?
Yeah.
Set the best practices. Okay, set the best practices for 99% of the users and 98% of the users. But then don't forget the last 2%, which are the pro users like myself, like you, bunch of other people that are listening to this podcast. Give them the freedom to do the advanced things that they want to do. And that's what we really built it for.
That's amazing. And there's one thing that really struck me with what you just said, or what you said earlier, is that you're a practitioner. So you're doing all of this, like you and your team and are identifying needs, right?
Yep.
That like maybe overlooked. It's not all red light, green light. You're correct. Like certain situations come up like, wow, it'd be great if I had a plugin to do this. It'd be great if I had a plugin to fast track the migration plan. It'd be great if I had a way to bring in all the Shopify stuff that's over here on within this subfolder environment if I'm lucky, and integrate that in my overall sitemap so I'm not managing three things at once. That's all amazing. That's one thing. Like it's really good to hear because, as you know, not only with plugins and SEO plugins, but also in the SEO tool front, there's been a lot of mergers and acquisitions recently. And congratulations to the folks that have like been able to sell those plugins or like offload those tools. But when that happens, sometimes the practitioner goes away, right? That was behind the passion in the beginning. So the fact that you've been through all of this and you're like firsthand making sure that this is the best plugin on the market available, that's something that you would want to use yourself, right? On WP Beginner makes a lot of sense, man. So that's pretty cool. That's really good to hear. That's really good to hear. So you addressed the question about Shopify, but All In One SEO, WordPress only right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what about like Opt-in Monster and some of your other tools out there? Are they cross-platform?
Yeah, Opt-in Monster is cross-platform. That was one of the first products we built. We built it as a WordPress plugin. We were the first ones in the market, to help you do exit intent pop-ups at scale. We realized that people wanted us to build it for other platforms, so we built a SaaS application. So people use it on Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento. Doesn't matter what you're using. If your website is HTML, which every website does, you can place Opt-in Monster. It works really, really powerful. I like to put it this way. It helps you unlock additional revenue from your existing traffic. Okay, additional subscribers from your existing traffic, because you're leaving money on the table if you're not using Opt-in Monster, to capture email list, to show that exit intent offer, and so on. We also have TrustPulse, right, which is the social activity feed notification that shows up, right? So Loren just bought All In One SEO and Loren is located here. So those social feed notifications, that works cross-platform. You're using Shopify, dump it all in one TrustPulse script, and it will just work. The neat part about TrustPulse is that it integrates with everything. The way we built it, it just catches all the form data. So you can say, okay, so-and-so just submitted my lead form. So you're an agency, you can show that. If you're an e-commerce site, you can show a purchase is being made. If you're a blog, you can show a comment is being made. Doesn't matter. If you have a form, it captures it and you can turn it into a social proof activity, proven to increase conversions, just because people like to buy from you if they see that other people are also buying from you. Push Engage, which is our push notification platform, works cross-platform. Push notification, I'll say, is a little known thing. Not many marketers are doing it right, and not many people are paying attention to it, I feel. But it gets the conversions, open rates, as like an email would. Okay, so it's pretty powerful. I use it. It's always in the top 5 traffic source for our sites.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good to know. Do you have that option where you can switch the yes/no button? Like that's happened to me a couple of times with like news sites or whatever. Like I'm so used to hitting no, like on the left-hand side, and then like I'm just not even looking at the button, and the next thing I know, I'm getting like alerts for stories or whatever.
Yep. You have a lot of freedom and flexibility.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Like I'm really seeing how a lot of this connects with each other. So you're building just like a master suite at the end of the day. Getting in the TrustPulse. So that's incentivized me to buy before, right? Because I'll be on an e-commerce site and I'll see there's only so many left, and then I'll see that Syed in this town in Orlando or whatever just bought this. I'm like, oh man, I better get it right now. So have you have there's specific conversion increases that you've seen from that, just from a psychological perspective?
Yeah, okay. It depends on the vertical you're in. In certain verticals, it performs really well. Others, it will always give you an uplift. It will always give you an uplift. but in some places a little higher. Also the settings you choose, right? What copy you choose in your messaging makes a difference. You can have your product image, you can have an image of a map showing, like depending on all the different settings you choose, it will differ in conversions.
Very cool. Very cool. There's another solution in your suite. If you have a chance, I'd like to learn a little bit more about it, and I'm sure our audience would as well. Sugar Calendar. So this is an event management or calendar solution within the WordPress backend. How exactly does that work?
Well, this was part of a recent acquisition that we just did a month and a half ago. As part of that, easy digital download, simple pay, affiliate WP. Sugar Calendar was part of the Sandhill suite that we acquired. It's a lightweight event management plugin. We have a lot of big plans for it going into 2022. But right now, if you're doing like a lightweight event, you want to sell tickets and so on, it can handle that. Now, it's not as full featured as some of our other products right now.
It's specifically event oriented, like an internal Eventbrite style solution for your site.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it for many different things. You can use it for event management. You can use it, like let's say you're a church, right? You can do church events that way. You can set up online events and connect it, to your live stream, connect it to Google Calendar. People get invites and all of that. So you can use it for just about any kind of event. I would say that like the onboarding experience and such isn't up to par with what you would expect from an automotive product right now, because we just acquired it a month ago. We have big plans for it in 2022. We're gonna have those use cases kind of guided, but you can sell one-time events, set up one-time events, set up recurring events, and the whole 9 yards. It's robust, but it's very lightweight. It's not bloated. It integrates with the form plugin, so you can create the booking form, set the invite and all that stuff, manage ticketing, and really powerful in that regard.
I've noticed that when you're describing most of the plugins or most of the solutions in your suite, you've used the words light, not heavy, things like that. So I really enjoy that, right? From a usability perspective, and then also a load time and everything else, right? For everyone in the back end. Giving people what they want and giving the engines what they want.
I like to think of it. These solutions are being built for me, and I want my website to be really, really fast. so like if I'm loading MonsterInsights on my own website, look, I want it to be fast so I can rank higher in Google. And I want to offer the best user experience. I want to have low bounce rate. I want to have people spend more time on my site. Also, part of me, wants to preserve the environment. Like every kilobyte matters. Every kilobyte matters, especially at our scale. So if we save the space, think about the carbon emission that we're saving. So all of those factors in. Of course, I'm a capitalist in the regards that I want faster site, which ranks better, converts better, and all that. So every solution that we're building really, really performance focused, really results focused. SeedProd is another good example of it. Okay, look, all the landing page builders outside, in the market right now, outright suck. They are slow, bloated. If you spend money on PPC, they're very heavy. If you spend money on PPC, that load time is so freaking important to conversion. That's why, I acquired SeedProd in 2018. It was a coming soon plugin. And I said, hey guys, let's completely turn this into a full-blown landing page builder. And actually, I think next week, it's going to be a full-blown theme builder. Right. This is like confidential. Now I'm giving you a sneak peek. Next week, it's going to become a full-blown theme builder. All right. So you can build your whole WordPress theme with it. That's actually going to be fast. No code.
Amazing.
Yeah. Really cool stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. So we spent a lot of time talking about all of the cool stuff that you've built, acquired, rebuilt, made better at Awesomotive. But let's back up a little bit, because you've mentioned this numerous times. You want to build tools that you want to use on your website. You are a practitioner. You are actually a blogger at the end of the day. So let's talk about WP Beginner. How did WP Beginner begin? How did it start? Also, how's that journey been? What have you learned? And then also, what are some mistakes that you had the ability to course correct over time that's led to you really launching this larger entity in the automotive space?
Let's take several steps back. I've always been in affiliate marketing. That's when you met me. I've been doing affiliate marketing offers for a long time, driving social media traffic before it was really social media at the time. So I did a lot of
Yep.
consulting, website development, and I was one of the power users on dig.com and stumbled
Oh
upon and
gosh.
all back in the old days. So that's how I discovered WordPress, in 2006, where I wanted to build websites that did not have to be updated manually all the time. You can dynamically update things from the back end without touching the HTML code and every time doing that. So I'll be the first to admit that I'm not the best of coders. I'm a pretty terrible programmer. They're way better programmers than me. But I was learning on the fly. I didn't go to school for this stuff. I was learning by Googling, and I found all the tutorials
Right.
were by developers for developers. And I was the idiot trying to read them and trying to implement them to be just dangerous enough to be able to put together a solution. So you know as I've been building this consulting business, building small business websites, and having maintaining them on a retainer, then kind of that became a good income flow. But I was doing higher end enterprise work, helping them with traffic and optimization. Infographics were hot. That was the early ages of infographic, helping them get into that world. I wanted to get rid of this maintenance business.
Yeah.
So I said, I got my clients. I said, hey, I did not want to leave them behind because they're small businesses that we were charging a very low amount for. I said, what if you pay me one-time fee and I convert your websites over to WordPress? Like, we convert your websites to WordPress, and then you'll be able to modify everything, do everything on your own, etc. They were like, hey, love this idea. Let's do it. So we migrated these sites over, and next thing you know, these clients are hitting me up for WordPress training stuff. They're like, oh, how do you do this in WordPress? How do you do that in WordPress? And I realized there was a big gap in the market. And WordPress was growing. WordPress was
Interesting.
growing like, wildfire there. And the all the tutorials were by developers for developers. There were a few people that had training videos that were charging like several $100s, $500, $600 to train, WordPress. And I'm like, this is kind of bogus. These clients, these small businesses just paid me money to get them over. And the promise I made to them was, you'll be able to do all this by yourself. And now I'm going back to them and saying,
Hmm.
pay $600 more to learn this stuff. And I was like, that's bogus. Let me just make, I asked other agencies, they're like, oh, we just have PDFs that we send to clients. I'm like, well, what about when WordPress updates? And they're like, oh yeah, then we just remake the PDFs and and we resend it to the client. I'm like, okay,
Right.
that's kind of crap. I'm like, there's a better solution. It's called WordPress. Why don't you use WordPress to write those WordPress tutorials, which you
Yes.
can update, so you never have to resend clients
Using
the link.
WordPress. Exactly.
And that's how WP Beginner initially started, and it took off, right? I promoted it on dig.com, of course. That was an advantage. I had proven track records. I would like submit my own articles there, and it would hit the front page. So we got a lot of traffic. It grew relatively fast because nobody else was doing what we were doing. And even today, right? We're the biggest resource site for WordPress, and we go above and beyond, right? We're not just like there's a zillion copycat sites out there. They're just like trying to copy our own tutorials and just using some spinners or whatnot. Now, what we do is we go above and beyond. We're community first, right? We have a Facebook group that I think has 80,000 members.
Right.
We actually, it's a free blog. We're not selling anything on the blog. We have like 5 people moderating the Facebook group. We're offering free WordPress support. We have, so we're really deep into this ecosystem now. We have 2 people full time that are working on the WordPress open source project. That's core open source project. We have another person that's working on our open source tools, right? That helps get people come on board with WordPress. So let's say you're using Medium right now. You thought it was a great idea in the beginning, and now you begin to hate it. You want to switch to WordPress? Go to medium.wp.com, free importer tool. No need to go pay some middleman a lot of money to switch from a platform A to platform B. Even just recently, we launched a Shopify to WooCommerce importer. If you started with Shopify and you're like, hey, I want to switch to WooCommerce, prepare to pay
Right.
several $1,000s to some middleman agency. Well, we got rid of that. We made it possible for you to switch from Shopify to WooCommerce for free. All right. Just did it for Ghost to WordPress, the Weebly to WordPress. So we have like a dedicated person that's just doing it. So we really took a community first approach. We listened to our users, what they're telling us, what they need help with. If there are other tools that exist out there, we partner with them, we promote them. If there's not, we have a team that will just build these free tools and give it to the users, because ultimately, if we help them win, we win. And that business model has worked so far so well for us.
I love that, because there's not only a gap in, or there wasn't only a gap at the time, and there still may be with tutorials, like how to do this, developers speaking to developers. So a small business owners, like, what's going on here? But also, I think what, and I'm not sure if this is intentional or not, but I think by WordPress.com, I kind of feel like they've ignored the small business owner with their on-site suite. And that opened up an opportunity for others like Wix to come in and say, hey, look, we are the solution for you, restaurant owner. We are the solution for you, store owner, right? So the ability, you've also identified kind of a gap in overall WordPress communication on that side, and then brought it into the WP Beginner. And it sounds like it's gone full circle, since you have team members that are working on the open source WordPress project as well, right? So that's kind of cool.
And it is super cool. I think there's a little bit of I would say, distortion maybe, or a little bit confusion around, okay, Wix might be doing a better job. They're not. If you look at any stats, WordPress is growing way faster, right? Wix is spending a lot more money to be in front of the marketers. That's what Wix is doing, right? I mean, they sent me a free headphone. Thinking I'm going to talk about Wix. Not really. Okay. So WordPress is by far and large the fastest growing platform. I think just hit 43%, I think it's about to hit 43% of all websites being built. It's going to be on WordPress. I think that's going to happen maybe by Thanksgiving. That'll be a Thanksgiving present for us.
Oh, nice.
But I would say, if you look at it right now, there's only two CMSs that are growing: WordPress and Shopify. Or growing any meaningful way. And by the way, when WordPress grows, the number of sites that it's growing by is by a lot more than anything else. So yeah, there are platforms out there like Squarespace and Wix and Weebly, and there's room for everything in the market. But WordPress has been the dominant force. I think the WordPress.org team, the open source team, has done a phenomenal job. Yeah. The Automatic team has also done a phenomenal job with the work they're doing on WooCommerce, making commerce possible on WordPress, because that's ultimately where everything is at, right? Making commerce possible. I mean, a lot of our own solutions are doing a lot in the commerce market. If you think about WP Forms, not everybody needs an e-commerce software. They don't need to set up a complicated cart, right? If you're an agency, you just need a simple, payment form. Why set up WooCommerce for this? You just use our form software. We invested in MemberPress. That's part of our growth fund. That I started in 2018, and it helps you create membership sites, sell courses, and so on. And what's really cool, we just we posted this earlier this year. MemberPress creators passed $1 billion in earning lifetime revenue. Okay, $1 billion. Especially with COVID, it really accelerated. We are on track to see, like, our estimates, rough estimates are that our creators this year are going to make somewhere around $600 million, which is kind of mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling, especially. Yeah, I remember the early days when WordPress came out. I was telling people I'm going to become a blogger. I'm blogging. They're like, what are you doing? Like, why you have to create new content every day? Are you crazy? I'm like, let's do it. So, yes, it is. And so before we I want to talk about your fund and about your investments, but what was the aha moment for you when you were running WP Beginner and building up the views and putting together those tutorials, and you're like, you know what? I want to start investing and creating these plugins, these suites, these solutions. Like, what was the moment that really triggered you to do so and move in that direction?
I would say it was pretty accidental. And I'll give you a little background. So before, when I started WP Beginner, 2 years after that, I also started a viral blog called List 25, which I sold a few years
I
ago.
remember. Yeah.
It at its peak had 2.5 million YouTube subscribers, 500 million video views. Right, it was truly an ad play. Think BuzzFeed, right? Very similar model. So as we were growing, and it had tons and tons of page views. So I was like really trying to monetize this, and I wanted to grow my email list. I was trying to use these other plugins that existed in the market. Unfortunately, they all would crash my site. Okay, because if you're using any plugin on WordPress that does analytics, and doesn't do it properly, most of them don't. Forget about it. Your site's going to crash. So I had to build my own software. That's when the idea of Opt-in Monster came about. I was like, well, what if I just built a pop-up thing? Because pop-ups were working really well. I was using pop-up domination, and I switched to Pipity. And they were doing okay. They were a little annoying. People complain about it. That, hey, I stayed on your site 5 seconds that you showed me a pop-up, and I was like, what if I only showed it to them when they were leaving? Okay, that was the idea. And I'm like, well, why don't and I also had this other problem that I was trying to work with the Pipity team about scaling, because it kept crashing my website. and
Yeah, you're getting
so
too much traffic.
so I built a thing, right? And then people were like, what is that? That's what we want. Because my audience always wanted to use the tools that I was using, right? So if I was using Genesis by StudioPress, at that time it was by Brian Clark, everybody was using Genesis. So my audience always wanted to use the tools that I was using. So if I was using All In One SEO, they were going to use All In One SEO. If I was going to use Gravity Forms, they were going to use Gravity Forms. Because I was always talking about the tools that I was using. If I was using something, I would say, yeah, hey, this is the tool that I'm using. So when I switched away from Pipity, people were like, why'd you switch away? And so I kind of explained to them, they're like, well, we want what you have. And I'm like, well, what I have is something that I wrote in code, which probably isn't market ready. It's hodgepodge together. So I partnered with my co-founder, Thomas Griffin, who's a phenomenal developer, excellent programmer. And we built Opt-in Monster together. And he made it so it's, it would be mass market ready. And we took it to market in 2013. It just went, bonkers. It was huge. And that was the moment. And, by the way, before this, I had launched a plugin before. It was like a share bar. It was a floating share bar, one of the earlier floating share bar plugins. And it just copied what Mashable was doing. Okay. Just copied what Mashable was doing. It had a little floated thing that, that attaches to your content. And it wasn't very, very bright, but a lot of people downloaded it. I think like tens of thousands of people downloaded it. So I knew that if I released a plugin, it would do really well, because my audience were downloading the software. Opt-in Monster was the first premium one that we did, and it absolutely crushed it. And we made a lot of mistakes, in the process. In around, I think, like 2.5 years into Opt-in Monster, we knew we wanted to get into the analytics market, because that was something that people were asking us. And right at the time, Yoast reached out to me on Skype, I remember, and he's like, dude, I'm looking to sell my Google Analytics plugin because our SEO suite is doing really well. We want to focus there. So I said, okay, I'll take it over. And it had like 1 million users at that point. Now it has over 3 million users. We had to rebrand it from Yoast Analytics to MonsterInsights. It's the most popular analytics software in the market. And simultaneously, we were also building a form software. I was trying to buy a form software. Nobody wanted to sell me a form builder. So I realized what was wrong in the market. People were telling me, and I would give the feedback to the existing form companies, and they just were like, hey, we got this other cool thing. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you make it simple? Like, can you imagine building a form with no submit button? Why wouldn't you just put a submit button? Why submit button should be dragged over? It should be a default. Every form needs a submit button. Okay, if you add an email field, it should be required by default. Why would you put an email field in a form and not make it required? Like 99% of the time, you're going to require an email field. That's the way to prevent spam. All right. I mean, you really got to add some reCAPTCHA to prevent spam nowadays. But you want to collect the email address, and all these form builders were designed by developers. So they're like, yeah, you can just go and click here and click here and click here. Guess what? Beginner, small business owner does not live and breathe in your product daily, right? They don't know click here to click here to click here. You got to make it super simple. And that's what we did. We launched WP Forms. I believe we're the fastest growing form builder in the world. In the last 5 years, we've gone from 0 to 5 million active installs on that form builder. So And that's a testament to how good the product is, how easy the product is to use. And there are certain things that we just will not do. Okay, like if you want us to make this complicated calculator, blah 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 blah, that's not what we do. We know who we are, and we also know who
Right.
we are not. Right, and
it's
so
very important. It's incredibly important.
very important. Yeah, very important. I would say that's one of the big lessons I learned. Right, don't try to be everybody to everyone. You cannot do that. Know who you are, but also know who you're not. A lot of people say, I know who I am, but they don't put those hard guardrails that say who we are not. Okay. And that leads to a slippery slope in business and life. And you end up like drifting away from your core value, whatever your value proposition was, you start drifting away. And that's when, business growth starts slowing down.
Hey man, I might not be the smartest person in the room, but I'm smart enough to know what I don't know, and smart enough to bring people in that know what I don't know, so we can work together and come to a solution at the end of the day, right? So there's a lot of people that don't understand that. They're like, they don't know what they don't know. They think they know everything. And it's the same way from a business perspective. That's pretty outstanding. And you know what I loved about your story was, earlier when you were just talking about being a practitioner and building the plugins that work for you, and this is 8 years after Opt-in Monster. So the fact that it sounds like to me, that's your core company culture, right? Like from an offering perspective, is being the practitioner, building things that you need. You needed this at the time. You were getting so much traffic on list 25 from all those YouTube videos showing up in Google, or getting so much traffic from like maybe Dig back in the day or something. So like suddenly the server would break and you have to put up an HTML version of the post because you want to get those beautiful links and set the site back up the next day. But knowing that all of this stuff, like all of these different technologies were dragging down your performance and building it for yourself, and then keeping that after 8 years is pretty phenomenal. And you're still blogging today? You're still blogging and writing today?
Oh yeah. Still blogging, still writing. I feel like that's how I learn. One of my favorite part of the day is to read through our support tickets, read through our Facebook group comments. Because look, man, like I still want to be the beginner. I still want to be in that mindset because you cannot solve a problem you don't understand. Okay? You cannot solve a problem you don't understand. So if you want to solve the problem for your customers, be where your customers are. Hear what they're saying. And I think that gives me an edge. So when I'm reading through these Facebook comments and the Reddit threads and the WPBeginner comments, looking at our search stats, I see the story. I mean, we have so many survey endpoints that we're asking surveys regularly and so many touch points for our users, and reading through those feedback and comments, and then using those insights to help the user succeed is the winning strategy.
Amazing. So we have a few minutes left. Would you mind touching a little bit upon how your investment program and your fund works, and whether it's an incubator program or whatever, and then what you're getting from that at the end of the day from just a overall fulfillment perspective?
For sure. Yeah. So, I created this thing. It's called the WPBeginner Growth Fund. After, in every business that I created, I always have a co-founder. So when I created Opt-in Monster, my co-founder is Thomas Griffin, who's a very sharp developer. In WP Forms, my co-founder is Jared. Jared Atchison, another amazing developer. Like I said, I can write code, but I'm not the best at it. So I partner with somebody who's really, really good. After seeing the success of these guys, a lot of other plugin developers and such would reach out to us and say, "Hey, would you partner with us on something?" And I was like, "Well, not really. We need to be focused." And at that time, all the people couldn't get any funding. They couldn't get the right advice and such. So I would say we never really set out to become investors. But after talking to so many different entrepreneurs, we realized that the options that existed, which were like private equity and venture investors, they were just a miserable experience, right? They would reach out to you, they will drag you out, get all your secrets, and then go buy your competitor for a cheaper rate and just completely destroy your business. So I will partner with the entrepreneurs and only take a minority stake in the business. So the entrepreneur, the founder, own majority stake in their business, and they, run the business independently. Now, if you ever want to exit the business, we'll buy you out. We'll, buy you wholly. But for me, the coolest thing is to work alongside these super smart entrepreneurs who are committed to serving their customers, who are subject matter experts, who are practitioners of their craft, and delivering the best user experience for the customers, who are also happen to be my readers, right? Now,
Yeah.
the value proposition is, dude, like, we've been doing this for a very long time, and I've made every single mistake you can think of. Well, I mean, I'm making new mistakes every day, but I've made a lot more mistakes, and you can learn from my mistakes, right? I DDoS our own servers by writing some bad code, right? Like, we've done some real stupid stuff, right? So what we
Right.
do is, like, from those mistakes, I say, make new mistakes every day. Use the mistakes that you've made as learning opportunities. So from those learning opportunities, we have created playbooks on product development, on growth, on operations. Now, when you're small, when you're a 5% team, 10% team, 20% team, you don't necessarily recognize some of the areas where you're going to fall. So we kind of come alongside you and share our playbook. You're in a group of founders, in our Slack. You have access to our resources, biannual masterminds, and really, access to anything that we're doing, and you just share it freely, openly. Now, anything that we're suggesting our playbook, we don't force it on any of the companies. They have full autonomy to not take any one of our playbook. And actually, we sort of like it when the companies take pieces of our playbook and then improvise and experiment with other areas, because then we learn from that and then implement it across other brands. So this collective sharing has led to some phenomenal results over the last, I would say, 3 years or so that I've had this fund. And ultimately, if you're a founder who is looking for a strategic partner, experienced entrepreneurs to just join you alongside the journey, not some like big sleazy PE company or venture capital who are just going to try to come in, take over your portfolio,
Squeeze what they can,
destroy everything. Yeah. If you're just looking for the next phase of growth and partnering with people who are committed to serving the customers, that's what this is for. And we make the process really easy. We're not going to drag you out for like 3-6 months. You send us a message, in 48 hours you're going to have a response. Either it's a yes or it's a no. We say no a lot more than we say yes. Okay. And if we believe you're the best fit, we'll make you an offer in less than 7 days. Okay. We know our space really, really well. Like I said, we're practitioners in marketing. We're also probably one of the more experienced folks in our M&A space, in our space. So we know the market really well. We can make an offer very quick due diligence, 7 days. Once it's signed, usually can close the deal in like 3 to 4 weeks.
Amazing. Syed, I want to thank you for taking the time today. I know you have a really busy schedule and stuff like that. We haven't seen each other for a while. I was trying to think back on one of the last times, probably in a conference lobby or something like that along the way. But there's one thing I wanted to talk to you about before we sign off. I was just going through the Awesome Motive site earlier, and on the homepage, there's a lot of us that talk about giving back and things like that. People that have we've built up a company, or we've whether accidentally or we had a plan or whatever. And it's always nice to help others out along the way, which you're doing obviously through your fund and you're investing in things. But I saw that you have contributed and helped build quite an amount of schools across the globe. So would you take the time to kind of talk about that initiative? What it means to you, what you're getting back from it, and how that's been.
Absolutely. My wife and I both come from, I would say middle class or lower middle class family. Like when I moved from Pakistan here, I'm originally from Pakistan, moved to US when I was 12. My dad was working 16 hours a day. Why? He was a mechanical engineer back home, but when he came to US, his degree didn't validate. And the value of education has been in our culture is very high. You got to get good education, and I feel that's one of the easiest ways to fight inequality, right? So our goal is to fight inequality through education. This is why everything you see on WPBeginner is free. We don't charge for courses. There's hundreds of videos for free that we create. I believe that helps level the playing field and creates a better tomorrow. So we partnered with good organizations that I really like. Pencils of Promise is a phenomenal organization. We built schools through them in Guatemala, and they build self-sustainable schools. So we fund the build of the school, then the local community and the government fund the education, the teachers, and so on. Recently partnered with the Cambodian Village Fund. I met Bill and Nancy. They're amazing humans, doing some phenomenal work. And we, built a school through them, and then actually built another school through them. During COVID, the construction was really slow, but I get updates from them on a monthly basis. It's just amazing. Kids are having soccer competition. We just funded a library there, and
Wow.
it's just it's super rewarding to be able to bring education and help fight inequality. And the way I look at it is, if even one kid or two kids out of these schools go out and build a phenomenal career, it would make the whole difference. Outside of what we're doing there, we're also doing, like, I created my Balkhi Foundation, and my wife is running that project. We're giving higher education scholarship in U.S. And every year we give scholarships to 10 kids who kind of have a similar background story. Low income housing, but super smart. Lower income families, not low income, lower income families, but super smart kids who just want college to be more affordable. So we give scholarship to 10 kids every year. And it's a scholarship that renews every year based on merit, and you have to keep up with certain GPA. And man, these kids are so smart. Like, we just had a kid who's graduating from high school with an AA, and I think she was like 15 or 16 years old, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this and so it's really awesome. I mean, across automotive, we have different initiatives. During COVID, we did campaigns around No Kid Hungry, because when schools were off, you don't realize how many kids rely on the free lunch there. And
The one hot meal of the day, right?
Yeah, I was one of those kids. Okay, I was one of those kids when I was going to school. I went to like a D-rated school in Palm Beach County at that time. I was a free lunch kid, right? So I knew the value of it. So we partnered with No Kid Hungry. We partnered with various food banks. We do a lot on the conservancy projects as well. I know anytime we're running a promotion, we usually are donating proceeds of the sales to that. I know Black Friday is coming up, so all of our tools are going to have sales, like every other SaaS company that is in the market. And our team is they vote on which nonprofit they want to support. So let's say I was looking at it, I think the MonsterInsights team picked One Tree Planet. So, like, I think for every sale they're going to plant a tree. That we get during Black Friday. Another one picked Ocean Conservancy. So different teams are gonna, pick different causes. We believe, we want to be responsible citizens on the planet. I want to leave the planet, better for my kid who's turning, Solomon, who's turning 5 today.
Right.
So, I want to make sure that when we leave the planet, the world is a better place for them.
It's just not about leaving a legacy; it's leaving a better place behind, right, and helping others.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great to hear. I remember when I was a kid, I had an old set of World Book encyclopedias that were outdated, but it helped me learn that there was more than my small town out there, right? So these libraries, these education initiatives, everything else, it's really amazing to hear.
Absolutely.
So just a reminder to everyone that tuned in today, we have quite a few of you that have tuned into LinkedIn Live. If you're on LinkedIn Live right now, leave a comment. 100%. We want to know. This is the second SEJ show we've had on LinkedIn, and the engagement that we've had on the LinkedIn side has been really incredible. So that's great to hear. And we have some happy birthdays that have come through for your son.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Right? That's really nice. And so, and just to let everyone know, this video will be made available on the SEJ YouTube channel. We'll be distributing through all of our social networks, and the audio feed will be available next week on our normal Search Engine Journal Show podcast, which you can listen to on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you like to listen to your podcast. Syed, it's been amazing. I've really enjoyed catching up today, learning more about your company, learning more about your growth and how all your plugins really have a story behind them, and just a little bit about what you're doing as well and from an entrepreneurial perspective and giving back a little. So thank you so much, man. I've really enjoyed today's discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I'll catch up with you very soon.
All right. Thanks everyone who is watching today, and thank you to all listeners. Also, thank you to our sponsors, Adzuma and SEMrush, for making today's show possible. So to all of you out there, and Syed, happy birthday to your kid, and then also have a happy Halloween weekend. Thank you so much, and see you next week on the Search Engine Journal Show.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Search Engine Journal Show. If you liked this episode, subscribe to our channel for so much more and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing.